At a young age, I had a thing for art and animation. There's something about seeing the world come to life through just lines, colors, and motion that's always intrigued me. That attention to detail, the creativity that goes into every frame is something I've admired for a long time. Even having my own characters that I draw and write stories about. So naturally, when I first saw Zenless Zone Zero, it wasn't just the gameplay that grabbed my attention. It was the art, the characters, the way everything had this bounce, this smoothness to it, that curviness. I'm joking. So today I'm gonna talk your ears off about what pulls me to Zenless Zone and the personal things I love about the game. Zenless Zone Zero's art and animation feel urban and nostalgic, like I'm watching an early 2000s anime, but with current day graphics and animation that I can play? That's pretty cool. It's like the team behind it didn't just design a game, they crafted an entire vibe. The visuals are bold, vibrant, unapologetically alive, and every detail feels intentional. Whether it's the neon-soaked streets of New Eridu or the characters' dynamic, flashy movesets and cutscenes with each character or story patch. It's the kind of art style that just pulls you in. Makes you want to explore every corner and learn the story behind every design, behind every character, and more. That's what really drew me in. How the art and animation work hand in hand to create a world that's not only visually stunning, but feels alive. Each character feels real. They feel like somebody I could meet on an average Saturday, minus them having abilities beyond human comprehension. They have their own personalities. They're not just this bland, one-dimensional characters. They have depth to each of them. It's rare for a game to capture that kind of energy besides, games I've played in the past like Persona 3, 4, and Destiny. But that's not what we're talking about today. And when I really think about it, the way ZZZ does it really resonated with me. Zenless Zone Zero. What can I really say that hasn't been said already? This game, it caught my attention. It pulled me in like no other gacha game has before. It didn't feel like it was trying to stand out in the crowd, but it also felt like it wanted to show me something.
Damn, what is that, bro?
Whether it be the characters or the world, ZZZ has this certain energy, an aesthetic that feels alive. One would call it urban fantasy. Let's talk about what makes this game shine. New Eridu, mainly in my opinion, the twins, Belle and Wise, and it's downright just delicious art style. First and foremost, New Eridu. This city, what can I say? It's vibrant. It feels like a world that's been through a lot, but it's thriving. It's thriving in the world, the characters, even the shop owners, they all have so much personality. The neon lights, the slightly futuristic architecture. I'd say it's more modern than it is slightly futuristic. It has this, as I said before, and as it can be called, this urban fantasy yet apocalyptic-ish, cyberpunkish vibe. I'd say more dystopian in my opinion. And it just hits different. It's like when you wake up in the morning and you get that nice cup of coffee or tea, and you have like those crumpets, or you have like those little like crumb cakes, and you take a bite and you take a sip of coffee, you're just like, boom. You're like, oh my God, Julian, that just hit. It just feels different. Everything feels so intentional. Like every corner of New Eridu has its own story to tell. I would have thought some of the NPCs were playable with how some of the NPCs are designed. Specifically the disc shop lady and the some of the NPCs you can see standing around. The disc shop shady Elfie kind of bad. But regardless, the visuals in ZZZ are just wow. They aren't afraid to be bold and colorful, that much I know. The neon palette, the sharp contrast between light and shadow. Specifically, one of my favorite things, the hollows, the big, giant circles of whatever they are, all come together to create an environment that's just hard to pull away from. You can tell that a lot of love and care went into designing this world, and I think that's the greatest thing about this game. Like, yeah, we all know what type of game ZZZ is, but it pulls me in. And damn, it's not just the cities. The character designs and combat animations are fluid, almost like watching an animated series, as I said earlier. there's a natural rhythm to it that I personally feel are rare to find. It's like each fight has its own flow, depending on what characters you pick, depending on how you do things. Each character has something that pulls you forward, and what they offer as playstyle. While the combat is very simple, there are parts of the combat that makes it feel deep in its own way. But it's super simple, yet some characters have their own new unique inputs, like Nicole, who for one of her moves has fighting game numpad notation where she can change how she sits on her gun, basically. And the synergies between certain characters and teams you put together. And it just makes it all flow so well and adds to the overall fluidity of the game's overall vibe. This next part is personally how I feel, something I really like. Two of the characters, the main characters that is, Belle and Wise. Let's talk about them. These two really stand out to me. And they don't even have combat. You don't even get to take them in the battle because they're proxies. Their job is to lead the people who go into the hollows to do what they gotta do. But they're not just some standard background NPCs. They're not some boring main character that's one-dimensional. They got depth. There's this interesting contrast between them. Belle with her slightly energetic demeanor, and wow, that rat Thyron girl sure has riz. Oh god, I hate that voice line. And Wise, who's, you know, more calm and conscious in his word, but he has this nerdy vibe to him, but he's trying to act like the nonchalant guy. He's like, yeah, nah, I'm chilling. But seeing how he interacts with the characters, if you choose Wise, his dialogue's very interesting. How he doesn't like spicy things or thrillers make him squeamish. Seeing that these characters have their own personality and they're not just these bland characters that you project onto, it creates this unique dynamic that adds a lot of personality between the twins and the game. The twins complement each other amazingly, both in story and personality, making their storylines some of the most interesting to follow in my opinion. It's like they've been through a lot and we don't know much about it, but they've still got this sibling bond that's really heartwarming. Like when you rest for when you get into the resting after some of the stuff in 1.0, you see Belle and Wise just sitting on the couch and they're in like their chill wear, Belle in her sweater and shit. And it shows that these siblings have a tight bond. Even with all the chaos around them, even with their jobs as proxies, which if I'm correct, is probably like an illegal job to have in New Eridu. And they just run it out of their video store. Did I mention that they run a video store with movies and all sorts of stuff? I think that's really cool. Each of them has their own extensive knowledge about movies as it's shown in some of their dialogue when it comes to movies. And I find that just absolutely cool that they're not just these proxies. They have more to and we don't even know much about them. The twins, whilst having so little lore about them, stand out the most to me, as it seems they have secrets upon secrets, and through each patch it seems we're going to uncover more about their past. Like when I was playing, and also I can show you guys in a close-up retrospective since, well, if you see I'm inside New Eridu because there's a VR chat world. Cool world, check it out. I could see that there's this photo. Seems pretty important that it's on this desk, but it has a piece ripped out of it. And I want to know more about the person whose piece is ripped out of it. There's also the cutscene after Eos puts the chip in when the cunning hairs are kind of lost in the hollow, and it awakens Fairy, you know, that super AI. And it shows a bunch of cutscenes flashing and a bunch of scenes, and it also shows the twins standing in front of a hollow, which I want to learn more and more about the twins because they seem the most intriguing besides the characters I have favoritism towards, the characters I do like and the characters I do like playing, like Caesar and Soldier 11. And I'm just super intrigued by what's going on with the story of everybody. In the end, Zenless Zone Zero to me, it's just more than a game to me. It's an experience. It's a world that I can't even put it into words. It's been built with so much care and attention to detail. And I just love the urban fantasy. Just, chef's kiss. If I could, I'd kiss the game. I'd be like, come here, kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm joking. But I digress. From the vibrancy of New Eridu to the intricate dynamics between the characters like Belle and Wise, Bellabog Industries, the police unit, the Sons of Chaldeon, every group just has this intertwining, especially the Cunning Hairs. 1.0 has to be my favorite because it introduces the Cunning Hairs. And if you like me, I love the Cunning Hairs. They're just a silly group, but you can tell they care very much about each other. I love Billy. I find Nekomata kind of annoying, but there's Nicole and there's Ambi. Cunning Hairs is the first faction we're introduced to, and it's just amazing. This game's found a special place in my heart. I'm not gonna lie, and I wouldn't have it anyway. Yeah, it's a gacha game. Yes, it can be addicting. Yes, it has downright hypnotic advertising that'll make you go, I want character, I want character, I want character, give me that character. But to me, it's more than just a gacha game. It's a story game. It's an action RPG, urban fantasy with a lot of personality and vibrance and colors and it's like a good 5-star meal. Not to most people, because gacha games are kind of but to me, it feels like a good 5-star meal being prepared. And I can't wait to see what it has to offer. I can't wait. I'm just really hyped to see what Zenless brings to the plate. And hey, I'll see you guys in New Eridu. Don't get a gacha addiction. It's not that good for you. Peace.